Yeah, that's a really important insight. I think that maybe some users and fans of Transfermarkt maybe don't understand about our market values, that particularly in the leagues outside the top five, performances in the Champions League, Europa League, and for the national team can have a huge impact on players' market values. So he's certainly done that this season. As you said, he's earned that market value upgrade. Almost to the point, Lara, that he's perhaps outshadowed one of the men you've mentioned there, Victor Osimhen, who, of course, people who maybe don't pay a lot of attention to Turkish football, always a huge amount of interest in Osimhen outside of Turkey as well. Talk to us about how he's done so far this season for Galatasaray. He's also got a lot of goals and assists in the Champions League, scoring plenty of goals maybe in the Super League as well. But his market value didn't change in this market value update. And I'm sure you have lots of Galatasaray fans maybe wondering why, but also people outside of Turkey will take a lot of interest in his market value development, if you will, since he moved to Turkey.
So as you all know, maybe the market value is not only a performance value, right? So maybe I also had to say that to Barış Alper. Of course, he has also some interest in the top 5 leagues. And this is also the case in Osimhen. Everyone knows Osimhen. Osimhen is a brand. Osimhen is not only a player. He's a figure in football. So, that is the reason why he has this high market value. As you know, or when you look at all of our Turkish market values, the Super League market values, there is no one near him. No one near him, his value. And this is huge because when some players are coming to Turkey, of course, the league is not as good as the top 5 leagues. And of course, we have to see, okay, fits that to the other values, but he's outstanding. He's not a player who plays in the Super League in normal cases. So this is something we have to take in account when we are doing his market value. When we considering his performance, then we also have, when we also focus on the Champions League, you see, okay, now he was also very important against Juventus. He scored that goal, I would say. But to be honest, after the first matches where he had an instant impact, where he also was the UCL top goal scorer at that time, he didn't make it wider again, or he didn't make it again. So we also have to keep in mind that kind of player have to do the impact, the match winner impact, like Barış Alper did in these two games. And Osimhen have to do that. And of course he did great, and of course that was okay, but he has to do more. Also, when we look at the Super League, 10 goals in 17 games, it's not bad. It's good. But when we look at the big games, he didn't show himself as Osimhen should. So, when we look at the performance, also we have to keep in mind that he has a huge salary. This salary can't afford every club. And I think this was always the case why he didn't go to another club while he was at Napoli. And who can afford that? I think the only league that can afford that is the Premier League. And there were literally no rumors. And as you know, we are doing market values and not performance values. We have to keep an eye on that. And there were no really serious offers to him. We know that Juventus is interested in him, but he can't, or he will not go to the Serie A, because then Galatasaray has a special agreement with Napoli where when he's transferred to Juventus in such case, then Galatasaray has to pay a fine to Napoli. So Serie A is also out for the next 2 seasons. So his market is the Premier League, and maybe you know it better. We haven't heard any big offers or haven't heard any big
Mm.
interest in it. And this is also what the player is important. Where can I sell him? And when he has no market and his salary is huge and his fee is also huge, Galatasaray don't want to sell him under 100 million euros. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, and my follow-up question was along those lines actually, because as you said, there's not been a huge amount of interest in clubs coming out to sign him. Obviously, as we approach the summer transfer window, that might change. The only notable one I've seen is maybe Bayern Munich as a potential replacement to Harry Kane at some point.
Yeah.
But as you say, Osimhen's market value, I just checked there, it's actually more or less the same as it was when he joined Galatasaray. And do you think, how would you say his time in Turkey has impacted his appeal as a top player to the Premier League? Okay, maybe not Serie A, but maybe La Liga, Barcelona, Real Madrid, these clubs. Do you think his performances at Galatasaray have improved his chances of moving to one of these clubs, or do you think he has to do more between now and maybe the end of the season to not only increase his market value, but also increase his appeal on the transfer market?
So I think he has to prove himself, and also to have the big performance in the Champions League.
Hmm.
And this is his stage. There he has to show, okay, I'm still here. I'm still one of the best strikers in the world. And this is something he has to show. Otherwise, in the league, of course, we know that Osimhen scores goals. Of course, he will score 10 goals from now. This is not something new. Otherwise, he wouldn't be at this stage of market value, right? Isn't it? He has to show himself in the Champions League. And when maybe Galatasaray also win against Liverpool, as they did in the group stage, maybe, and he had an impact, then of course the clubs will see, oh, okay, he's still the same Osimhen. He's still the same striker like he was in Napoli. And he's profiting from his name, but he has to show it on the highest stage, and this is Champions League, in my opinion. So there he has to show himself to be more appealed for the other club.